Hi everyone, and welcome to today's History Deep Dive. Today, we're traveling back to the 18th century, a time of powdered wigs, royal intrigue, and continental power struggles. Our focus? The War of Austrian Succession, a war that rocked Europe from 1740 to 1748. Now, at first glance, this might seem like just another dynastic squabble, but trust me, this war was a big deal. It shaped alliances, redrew borders, and set the stage for future conflicts. At the heart of it all is one woman, Maria Theresa. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's unpack this dramatic episode in European history. To understand why this war broke out, we need to start with the big picture. In the early 18th century, Europe was a patchwork of competing powers: France, Britain, Austria, Prussia, and more old jockeying for influence. Now, the Holy Roman Empire, led by the Austrian Habsburgs, was one of the major players. But when Emperor Charles VI died in 1740, everything fell apart. Here's why. Charles only had daughters, and back then, the idea of a woman ruling the empire, not exactly popular. Before his death, Charles had issued something called the Pragmatic Sanction. Basically, this was a legal decree saying, hey everyone, when I die, my daughter Maria Theresa gets to inherit everything. No arguments. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. As soon as he died, Europe erupted in chaos. Rival powers like Prussia, France, and Bavaria saw this as their golden opportunity to grab Austrian land. And thus, the War of Austrian Succession began. Let's talk about Maria Theresa, the woman who was thrown into this whirlwind. She was just 23 years old when her father died, and suddenly, she wasn't just Archduchess of Austria, she was defending her right to rule against a coalition of powerful men. This wasn't just a military challenge. It was deeply personal. Many rulers outright dismissed her because she was a woman. But Maria Theresa, she was no pushover. She secured support from Hungary, rallied her armies, and became a symbol of resilience. Her fight wasn't just for a throne, it was for her family's legacy and the survival of the Habsburg Empire. Alright, let's get into the meat of the war. In 1740, Frederick II of Prussia, later known as Frederick the Great, decided to pounce. He invaded Silesia, a wealthy Austrian province. Frederick claimed he was just helping resolve the succession crisis, but in reality, he wanted that land for himself. This sparked a domino effect. Bavaria, France, and Spain joined the anti-Austrian coalition, while Britain and the Dutch Republic sided with Austria. Why? Because they didn't want France getting too powerful. The battles raged across Europe, from the cold fields of Silesia to Italy and even the colonies in North America and India. Yes, this war wasn't just a European affair, it was global. It's why historians sometimes call it the precursor to the 7 Years' War. Let's break down some of the key moments. 1. Silesian Wars. Frederick's invasion of Silesia set the tone for the conflict. Despite Austria's best efforts, Frederick's well-trained Prussian army was hard to beat. 2. The Battle of Fontenoy won 7-5. This was a massive win for France against the British and their allies. It showed how chaotic and unpredictable alliances could be. 3. Maria Theresa's diplomacy. She played the long game, forging alliances with Britain and eventually regaining some territories. Her diplomatic skills were just as impressive as her military strategies. Throughout the war, no single power could dominate completely. It became a brutal stalemate. So, after 8 years of fighting, what did everyone achieve? In 1748, the war ended with the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. Here's the kicker: the treaty was basically a reset button. Maria Theresa kept her throne, but Austria lost Silesia to Prussia, which was a bitter pill to swallow. Frederick the Great came out as a major winner, solidifying Prussia as a rising power. For most of Europe, the war solved nothing long-term. It was like hitting pause on a much bigger conflict that would erupt later, the 7 Years' War. So, why should we care about a war that ended nearly 300 years ago? Well, the War of Austrian Succession wasn't just about Maria Theresa's throne. It was a turning point in European power dynamics. It marked Prussia's rise as a serious contender. It exposed the fragile balance of power in Europe, setting the stage for future wars. And it showed the resilience of one woman who defied the odds to defend her empire. Maria Theresa went on to rule for 40 years, becoming one of the most influential leaders in Austrian history. And Frederick the Great? He would become one of the most feared generals of his time. History isn't just dates and battles, it's about people, decisions, and the ripples they create. And this war, it left some big ripples. Thanks for sticking with me through this journey into the War of Austrian Succession. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. What part of this story fascinated you the most? Let me know. And remember, history isn't just the story of the past, it's the foundation of the present. See you next time for another epic tale.